The first thing you should know is that I wasn't hiding in the closet for dramatic effect. It wasn't some elaborate trap. I was fixing a warped sliding door in our guest bedroom closet when I heard voices coming down the hall. Her voice. And his. At first, I thought she was on the phone. But no, the second voice was here, in the house. In our house. And the second thing you should know? I wasn't supposed to be home. She thought I was at the DMV. I was. For 20 minutes. But the line was so long I bailed and came back early. Quietly. I didn't even call her. I just unlocked the door, kicked off my shoes, and went straight to that cursed closet to deal with it while I still had motivation. So when they walked in, Delaney and her coworker, Theo, I froze. Completely. I didn't even breathe. The closet door was cracked an inch. And I swear to you, I saw his hand brush her back as they stepped into the room. Our guest bedroom, where her mother sleeps when she visits. I wasn't sure what to think until I heard my own name. I just think he gets controlling sometimes, she said, tossing something onto the bed. Her voice wasn't angry. It was worse. Calm. Casual. Theo laughed. Because you didn't agree about the campaign budget? That's not controlling, it's being boring. He's safe. Safe. Like a Volvo. Or a life jacket. Or a prison sentence. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then, you're not wrong. Right there. No hesitation. No, hey, don't talk about him like that. She agreed. And she sounded relieved to say it out loud. I don't know what came over me, but I stayed in that closet like a coward. I didn't burst out. I didn't scream. I just sat there, heart pounding, trying to swallow the bile rising up my throat as I listened to my wife let this smug designer shirt-wearing bastard trash me like I was some forgettable roommate. Not her husband. And that's when the argument started. Not between them, between Theo and her. It started with a joke he made. Something about how she could do better than this house. That I should have bought something newer, something bigger. She laughed at first. But then she got defensive. Not about me, about her image. About her reputation at work. Theo pushed. He said something about her playing both sides. You want to look like a devoted wife at the company party and flirt like you're single at lunch. That's when her voice rose. But here's the part that really killed me. She said, don't twist this. You know I care about you. But he's still there? He's still in the picture. Like I was some logistical problem. An obstruction. He shot back with, you're either with me or you're not. And without skipping a beat, she said, then I'm with you. I didn't hear anything after that. Because I opened the closet door, finally, and stood there like an idiot. And what happened next? I only said one sentence. Just one. 7 words. But that sentence ripped through the room like a blade. It changed everything. And it made her realize the one thing she never expected. I wasn't safe. I was done. I stood there in the doorway, fresh out of the closet, literally and emotionally, and they both froze. Not like in the movies, where people gasp and back away, or knock over a lamp in panic. No, they just stared. Like I was the one intruding. Like I had crossed some boundary they had set, and I was the problem now. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely see straight. My palms were soaked. My lips were shaking. I looked at her. This woman I'd kissed goodbye that morning while she pretended everything was normal. And I said the first thing that came to my mouth. You just picked the wrong man, Delaney. 7 words. That's all. But they cut something open in the room. Theo's face shifted. He turned away like he wanted to disappear. And Delaney, she didn't cry. She didn't shout. She didn't flinch. She just looked at me like she was trying to calculate how to spin the situation. You weren't supposed to be home, she finally said. That's it. No denial. No apology. Just a flat, cold observation, as if I was an early Amazon delivery screwing up her schedule. The amount of venom behind those words nearly knocked the air out of me. I don't even remember how I responded. I think I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain had no idea what else to do. Theo mumbled something about leaving and walked past me like I didn't exist. I didn't move. I just listened to his footsteps echoing down the hallway until the front door opened and clicked shut. And then silence. The kind of silence that buzzes. Delaney sat on the edge of the guest bed like she was tired of standing in her own mess. I remember staring at the wrinkle in the blanket beside her, wondering how many times she'd sat there with him. How many half-lies she'd told me after work. How many days I'd come home thinking I was the only man in her orbit when really, I was just orbiting around the edge of something I never understood. I didn't sleep with him, she muttered. I almost asked, do you want credit for that? But I bit my tongue. Because honestly, I didn't care. This wasn't about sex. This was about betrayal in its quietest form, the kind that festers under your nose, smiling at you while it rots everything you thought was safe. She asked if I wanted to talk. I said no. I said I was going out for air and I didn't know when I'd be back. That was 2 days ago. Now I'm sitting in a roadside motel with a vending machine that only takes coins and a bedspread that smells like bleach and desperation. And all I can think about is how easily she said it. You weren't supposed to be home. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I messed up. Not even, please don't go. No panic. No regret. Just disappointment that I ruined her moment. But I'm not done yet. Not by a long shot. Because what I found when I got back to the house, that's where everything really starts to unravel. And trust me, it's a whole lot worse than I imagined. When I finally walked back into the house, everything looked untouched. Too untouched. Like the rooms had been staged, not lived in. The guest bed was perfectly made again, like she couldn't stand the idea of any trace being left behind. My shoes were lined up by the door, just like I always kept them. My jacket was still hanging on the hook where I left it that morning. But something felt off. Like the walls had heard things I wasn't supposed to hear. Like the silence had been practicing its lines. I went straight upstairs, not even knowing why. I didn't plan to talk to her. I didn't want an apology. I wasn't even sure I wanted answers anymore. But I needed something, some kind of confirmation that what I felt, what I saw, what I heard in that guest bedroom wasn't just some emotional hallucination. The bedroom was empty. Our bedroom. The bed was made. Her side looked too smooth, too clean, like she hadn't slept there. And that's when I noticed the photo frame on her nightstand was facing down. She never did that. Never. We had this dumb picture from a hiking trip in Oregon, both of us sweaty and sunburned and grinning like kids. She loved that photo. Said it reminded her that even when we fought, we always came back to each other. But now it was face down, like she couldn't bear to look at it. Or worse, didn't care if I noticed. My stomach twisted. I reached for her drawer. Don't ask me why. I wasn't looking for a smoking gun or some love note or hotel receipt. I just needed to know something. Anything. I pulled it open, and there it was. Her old planner. She hadn't used it in months. She did everything on her phone now, but I flipped through it anyway. Just habit, maybe. And buried near the back, folded between 2 empty pages, was a torn sticky note. Nothing more than a few words scribbled in black ink. If he finds out, blame stress. He always believes that. No name. No date. Just that. I felt my legs weaken, like the floor was about to give way beneath me. That was about me. That was her talking strategy. Not honesty. Not remorse. Just damage control. I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping that note like it could bleed. I must have stared at it for 15 minutes straight. All those little things I'd ignored, the late hours, the silence, the eye rolls, the guilt turned against me. They all came crashing down in one ugly, undeniable wave. She had a backup plan for betrayal, a script, a fallback excuse, and I'd always believed it. Until now. I don't remember hearing her come in, but suddenly she was there. In the doorway. Holding a takeout bag like this was just another Thursday night. No guilt. No shame. Just a tired face and a casual, "Hey, I brought that Thai place you like." I didn't speak. I held up the note. Her face didn't even flicker. "I don't remember writing that," she said, dropping her keys in the bowl. "You're really going through my stuff now." That was her concern. Not what the note said. Not what it meant. Just that I had looked. As if the real violation was my curiosity, not her betrayal. That's when I realized something else. She wasn't sorry because she never thought she'd get caught. I was never supposed to see behind the curtain. But now I had. And the worst part? That wasn't even the only note. Because 2 nights later, when she left her laptop unlocked, I found something else. Something that made me question everything about our entire marriage. Something I can never unsee. She fell asleep early that night. Or at least she pretended to. I didn't care anymore. I watched her climb into bed, plug in her phone like everything was normal, and turn away from me without a word. No good night. No, are we okay? Just silence. That kind of silence you only get when someone's already emotionally gone, and they're just too cowardly to pack their suitcase. I sat in the living room, lights off, just the TV playing something I wasn't even watching. My head felt like it was trying to split itself in half. I couldn't stop staring at the hallway that led to our bedroom, like something might crawl out of it. I wasn't afraid she'd come out and scream or fight or even cry. I was afraid she wouldn't. That she'd stay in there sleeping soundly, while I sat here drowning in a marriage she was already done with. At some point, I heard the faint click of her laptop closing, too early. She always watched shows in bed, or so she said. But tonight, the sound came less than 10 minutes after she went into the room. That's what made me get up. I waited another hour, then crept back in like a ghost. She was curled away from me, breathing slow and deep. I didn't wake her. I just unplugged the laptop from the nightstand, grabbed it gently, and slipped out. Back in the living room, I sat on the floor with the screen casting a pale light across the carpet. Her desktop background was still a photo of us. Well, of me. I was mid-laugh. She'd cropped herself out. That hit harder than it should have. But I went straight to the browser. Chrome was still open. I clicked the History tab, not even sure what I was hoping to find. And there it was. A full Google search. How to end a marriage without looking like the bad guy. Followed by a Reddit thread titled, "Is it wrong to fall in love with a coworker if your marriage is already dead?" I felt sick. Physically sick. Like my body was rejecting the truth in real time. And then the worst tab. A half-written message in some anonymous email account I didn't even know she had. It was addressed to Nolan, not Theo. A different name. A different man. A different lie. I know we said we'd wait. But every day with him gets harder. He's not cruel or mean, just so heavy. Like a fog I can't clear. You make me feel like I'm breathing again. She hadn't sent it. But she wrote it. Sat down, typed it out, and left it there like a digital bomb waiting to be found. Not addressed to Theo. Not the man from the guest room. Someone else. This wasn't an affair. This was a pattern. My wife didn't just betray me once. She'd been slowly disassembling our marriage in secret chapters. Each man a different paragraph. Each lie a different font. And me? I was the permanent draft she never had the guts to delete. I closed the laptop. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. I just sat there with my hands on my knees, staring into nothing. Because the truth hit me harder than anything she ever said. She'd already rehearsed her freedom, and I was just the final performance. But what I did the next day? I didn't argue. I didn't pack. I played along. Because if she was going to treat this like a game, I was going to beat her at it. That morning, I made her breakfast. I know, you probably think I'm spineless. That after everything, after the notes, the browser history, and the email to some man she hadn't even bothered to mention, I should have screamed, thrown plates, told her to get out. But I didn't. Because explosions are loud, messy, emotional, and she'd already painted me as the sensitive one, the overthinker. I wasn't going to hand her ammunition wrapped in rage. I was going to do what she didn't expect, stay calm, smile, and quietly turn the screws. So I made her French toast, poured her orange juice in that stupid stemless wine glass she liked, put a blueberry on top like some hotel chef. And when she came into the kitchen still in her robe, hair tied up, phone in hand, she blinked like she couldn't compute what was happening. "Morning," I said, as if everything was normal. "You've been working so hard lately. Figured you deserved something nice." She hesitated, then smiled, that tight-lipped smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks," she said, almost confused. She thought I didn't know. Perfect. For the next few days, I played the role. I kissed her cheek when I left, asked about her meetings, took interest in her projects, even offered to pick her up from work, which she declined, of course. Said she was riding with Nora, or had a team thing. I pretended to believe her. I told her I trusted her. I let her think she was in control. Meanwhile, I was collecting everything. The second email, the one she did send, I found it in the sent folder of the same secret account. She wrote to Nolan again, told him she missed his mind, and that she felt like she was living two lives. He replied, of course he did. Told her he wished she'd just rip off the bandage already. Rip off the bandage. That's what I had become. A wound she was planning to peel open and walk away from without blinking. But I wasn't going to let her choose when it ended. She didn't get to decide the exit music. I did. I started moving things. Quiet things. I changed the password to our joint cloud account. Removed her from the backup drive. Switched all the online billing to my personal email. I even checked the deed on the house. And thank God, it was in my name only. Bought before the marriage, never updated. Then I visited a lawyer. Quietly. Privately. I paid in cash, because I knew she still checked the joint account from time to time. I made copies of the emails. I forwarded them to myself, to a locked folder. I printed them out, sealed them in an envelope, and put them in the bottom of my toolbox in the garage, the one thing she never touches. Each night, I'd lay next to her pretending to be asleep, and I'd listen. She texted him under the covers. She giggled once. At 11:42 p.m., I stared at the ceiling and counted cracks in the plaster while my wife whispered lies 2 feet away from me. But I was done being the guy in the closet. I was going to show her that safe doesn't mean weak. That quiet doesn't mean blind. That I could be cold, colder than she ever expected. And I'd already started with her job. Because Nolan? He made one mistake. He used the company email. And HR loves emails like his. It was almost too easy. I didn't even have to fake being righteous or vengeful. I just printed Nolan's emails to my wife, stapled them together with timestamps, and included one of her replies that mentioned their boss by name. Not emotional stuff. Just cold, professional-looking evidence that someone in their office was using company email to pursue a relationship with a married colleague and dragging the firm's image into it. I dropped the envelope off at the front desk. No name, no note. Just ATTN, HR, and the internal ethics code scribbled in the corner. Then I walked out. No fingerprints. No digital trail. Just silence. 3 days later, Nolan was called in. I only know this because Delaney came home that night acting strange. Her makeup was uneven, her shirt wrinkled, and her voice thinner than usual. I asked her how her day was, and she just blinked for a second longer than normal, then said, "Fine. Busy." But her hands were trembling. I knew what had happened. I could imagine it. The stiff office, the fake politeness, the HR director's calculated expression as they slid a few papers across the table and said, "We need to talk about this." Nolan probably tried to spin it, laugh it off, maybe even throw Delaney under the bus. Cowards like him always crack first. But I waited. I didn't say anything yet, because I wasn't finished. The next day, I casually told Delaney I'd be late coming home, said I had a drinks thing with a former coworker. I even sprayed on that awful cologne she hates just to sell the image. She barely reacted, just nodded and muttered something about meetings. But she was nervous. She was watching me now, and that's what I wanted. Later that night, I walked into the house and found her standing in the kitchen holding a glass of wine, not drinking it, just holding it. She was wearing one of those long cardigans she always curled up in when she was spiraling. She didn't even look at me when she spoke. "Something happened at work today." I pretended to be surprised. "Yeah? What's up?" She turned slowly, like the weight of the day had been crushing her spine. "Nolan's being investigated. They found emails between us." I raised my eyebrows, just enough to make it look real. "That sucks." She searched my face for something, guilt, knowledge, anything, but I gave her nothing. Just a shrug and a sip of water. She waited. I stayed silent. The tension in that room was electric. Finally, she whispered, "Do you think someone tipped them off?" There it was. The seed of paranoia. I shrugged again. Wouldn't be the first time someone got jealous in that office. You know how it is. I saw her throat tighten. She nodded, lips pressed together. I slept like a baby that night. By the end of the week, Nolan was suspended. Delaney was on probationary leave, pending further review. Apparently, the firm had just secured a major client, and the last thing they wanted was internal scandal tied to their name. Corporate image, you know? But here's the twist, the real one. Delaney didn't blame me. She blamed Theo. Remember him? The guy from the closet? The first one? I overheard her on the phone the next night, in the bathroom with the water running. I think Theo found out. Maybe he told someone to get back at me. You remember he got weird after I ended things, right? So now he was the villain. She was burning bridges in every direction, not realizing the match was still in my hand. And I still hadn't even told her I knew. Because what I was planning next wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be permanent. The most surreal part of watching someone fall apart is realizing how good they are at pretending they're not. Delaney still made the bed every morning. Still texted our neighbor back about the garden club. Still used my name in casual conversation like she hadn't emotionally buried me weeks ago. But I could see the cracks forming behind her eyes. She was unraveling, not because she'd been caught, but because she didn't know who had done it. I kept playing my part. I was soft-spoken, supportive, even asked if she wanted to talk about things. She said no. She was fine, always fine. Until the morning I walked into the kitchen and found her sitting at the table, staring at her phone like it had just given her a death sentence. "What's wrong?" I asked, reaching for a mug I didn't even need. She blinked at me, swallowing hard. Nolan's gone. Just gone. He quit. Deleted everything. Blocked me on everything. I faked surprise, but inside I was giddy. I knew why he disappeared. Nolan must have felt the walls closing in. After HR got involved, after the partners started sniffing around, he probably decided he didn't want to risk his six-figure reputation on a married woman who'd left a trail of digital landmines behind her. But Delaney? She looked pale. Panicked. She kept whispering to herself like she was trying to rewrite history in real time. She must have thought she was more in control than she really was. And that's when she did something I didn't expect. She apologized. To me. She said she'd been distant. That she'd let work come between us. That she'd been emotionally messy and needed time to figure herself out. She didn't confess. Not really. But she gave me one of those half-truths wrapped in vague remorse. The kind of apology that says, I don't regret cheating, just getting close to being caught. I just nodded. I told her it was okay. That I understood. That we could rebuild. She looked so relieved. Like she believed she still had a shot at cleaning up the mess without admitting to any of it. And while she was busy whispering her fake promises into my neck that night, I was finalizing the one thing she couldn't escape. My exit. I'd been moving money for weeks. Small amounts. Just enough not to raise red flags. Transferred out of our joint accounts into a private savings she didn't know existed. I'd already spoken to the realtor. The house was going on the market the following Monday. Fast listing, cash only, already had 2 investors interested. I wasn't leaving the house. She was. And as for the cats, they were chipped in my name. The suitcase was already in the trunk of my car. Clothes, documents, copies of everything she wrote. A burner phone, a storage unit key, even a copy of the prenup. The one she forgot she signed when she begged me to trust her all those years ago. She would wake up to emptiness. And just to twist the knife the way she twisted that damn email into my back, I had written her a note. Just a single line, printed on the same paper she used to write her fake to-do lists every week. You made your choice. I just made mine. That was all. Because she didn't need a breakdown. She needed silence. Final, cold, clean silence. But even I didn't expect how badly she'd fall apart when she read it. I left just before dawn. I didn't slam doors. I didn't leave a dramatic voicemail. I didn't pack everything, just enough to never come back. The silence I gave her was the same silence she fed me for months. Only now, it echoed louder than she ever imagined. When she woke up, the bed was cold. The closet half empty. The cats fed, but gone. My ring, left on the kitchen table beside the note. No begging. No long speech. Just that one line. You made your choice. I just made mine. It took her exactly 47 minutes to start calling. I didn't answer. She texted. Dozens. Voice notes. A photo of the empty closet. What is this? She wrote. Finn, come back. Please. I didn't. Because for the first time in years, I could breathe. The storage unit I'd rented felt like a sanctuary. Small but mine. No lies in the walls. No one checking their phone at midnight. No whispers behind bathroom doors. Just peace. I slept on an air mattress the first night, under a blanket I hadn't shared with anyone but myself in 6 years. I slept like a man who had finally stepped out of the storm. 2 weeks passed before I heard from someone who wasn't her. It was her sister. She messaged me privately, said she didn't know what had happened, but that Delaney was not okay. Said she'd been crying nonstop, missed work, even tried to visit my parents pretending it was just to talk. I didn't respond, because at some point, you have to stop rescuing people who set the house on fire and blamed you for the smoke. I focused on rebuilding. I found a small design firm across town. Nothing flashy, but the people were kind. Supportive. I told them I'd gone through a rough patch, and they gave me space to prove myself. And I did. I worked late not because I was trying to escape home, but because I loved what I was doing. I started smiling again. I ran into an old friend from college at a bookstore one night. Her name was Clara. We talked about obscure novels and ugly coffee mugs. No expectations. Just real conversation. 3 weeks later, we had lunch. 2 months later, we couldn't stop texting. Clara knew about the divorce. I told her the truth, slowly. She didn't flinch. She didn't pity me. She just listened. And then she said something I'll never forget. You weren't too sensitive. You were just with someone who didn't value how deeply you felt. It hit me like a wave. Because that was it. That was the truth I'd been trying to chase in the middle of all the lies. I was never broken. I was just with someone who resented my ability to care. Delaney? She still sends messages. Once a month, usually after midnight. Always the same tone. Guilt, confusion, sometimes anger. The last one simply said, I still don't understand what happened. But I do. She picked him. Then another him. Then another. And I finally picked me. That was the ending. Not revenge. Not drama. Not chaos. Just peace. And if you've ever been where I was, in that closet, in that silence, in that slow death of being ignored, let me say this. You don't have to set anything on fire. Just walk out. Quietly. Proudly. Permanently. And you'll be shocked how beautiful the world feels when you stop begging someone to see you and start seeing yourself again.